Hi, everyone. My name is Bob Thiesen. I'm with DISTek Integration, a 100% employee-owned company in Cedar Falls, Iowa. And welcome to the first of what we hope will be many member spotlight podcasts for the Iowa-Nebraska chapter of the ESOP Association. Today, we're pleased to, with our first spotlight, we're pleased to welcome Bob Gaffney, the CFO at the Stark Group, and he's going to walk us through a little bit about his company, and we'll have some more questions for him about his ESOP and where they are at. So welcome, Bob, and thanks for joining us today.
Of course, thanks for having me. So the Stark Group is an employee-owned, 100% employee-owned holding company that has a couple different operating companies. Our legacy company, RenderNect, is a commercial general contractor in Cedar Rapids, Iowa. We've been here for 143 years. And more recently, we made the addition or acquisition of Woodcrafters, Inc., which is a commercial cabinet manufacturer that we added under our umbrella 3 years ago. So little change in our company given our long history, but was a move we made to move forward and do business a little differently.
That's pretty cool. 143 years in business. Bob, how long have you been with the organization?
I have been here just about 5 years, 5 years and a month here. So.
And had you worked for an ESOP company prior to joining the Stark Group?
It's a great question. I had. So I started my career in public accounting, which was enjoyable for a while, and I learned a lot, but it wasn't for me long term. Wasn't a great fit. So I found a position at Stellar Industries up in northern Iowa, up in Garner, Iowa. At the time, they were like a 40% ESOP, and some of the skills they were looking for kind of fit my niche. Coming out of the tax background, so tax, treasury, investments, that sort of thing. And then there was this other thing, ESOP, just kind of listed there, and I didn't really know what that meant. I had a few clients that were ESOPs when I was in the tax world, but generally that didn't mean a lot of difference from where I was sitting. Being at the ESOP company was a whole different world, learning to work with the administrator, the trustee, the valuation firm. Those were all things I learned up at Stellar. I was at Stellar for just over 5 years, maybe 6 years. Learned everything I could, ESOP, got to participate in some second stage transaction where we bought a bunch of outside shareholders up. Got heavily involved in ESOP education while I was there, going around to small groups of the employee group, maybe 10 or 12 people at a time, and presenting, here's the ESOP, here's what it means, here's how your statement reads, here's what it can mean for you in the future. So I really kind of got ingrained into that ESOP education, culture, information highway, and I really, really enjoyed that part of my job, probably more so than anything else that I did there, but it was really a good background for learning ESOP. Fast forward a couple of years, or after I was there 5 or 6 years, my wife and I wanted to get closer to home. Cedar Rapids fit the bill for that, so we kind of started networking around Cedar Rapids and looking for new positions. I never in my wildest dreams thought I would find another ESOP, but was very, very excited to do so, especially one that had the legacy that RenderNect, our construction company, our legacy company in this ESOP, had. So I was really excited to find that. And then to meet the people here, integrate here, realize that I could add some value in terms of some of that ESOP education knowledge that they just didn't have before. Everything was good here, but they didn't focus a lot on some of the ESOP specific issues. And I think that's part of being a smaller company. Not having the resources maybe to dedicate to that all the time. So me coming on board and focusing on that a little differently than my predecessor was exciting. It was a new challenge for me. Again, I got to redo the education piece again with a new set of employees at a new company. So yeah, it's been a really good fit. Really excited to be here and still be here and growing our company.
Well, that's interesting, and I wanted to comment that I was going to ask if you have we're able to take some of that past experience and apply it to the folks at the Start Group, which leads me to the question, how many employees are a part of the ESOP at the Start Group? Or actually, how many employees overall?
Sure. So we had originally we had 28 to 30 at RenderNect in the office, and typically only our office employees participate. The rest of our field is signatory to the unions. So we have union carpenters, union laborers for all our construction sites. They have their own benefit plan and are excluded from the ESOP. But so we still have that legacy, 28 to 30 in the RenderNect office. When we purchased Woodcrafters, which was about 3 years ago, they had 14 or 15 employees, and now they're up to about 30 as well. So all told, we're pushing 60 ESOP employees and then another 50 or 60 union field employees.
Well, that's good. If we have time, I do want to come back to this topic of the ESOP education piece that you do with your employees, because I'm a part of that with DISTek too, and it never hurts to glean a little bit of information off of people that have gone that path before me. So, how long has Start Group been an ESOP?
So RenderNect was the original ESOP company, became an ESOP in 2001, I believe. The strategy there was a transition of the selling owners who were at this point third or fourth generation of lead ownership group. Going back to, as I said, 143 years ago, the company was started by a couple of cabinet makers that came here from Germany. So they were really old world craftsmen and found a niche here in the Cedar Rapids market, did a lot of carpentry work, and then built up to be a bigger contractor. The RenderNect name came in about World War II when those brothers sold the company, or their descendants even, sold the company to R.W. RenderNect, who then sold the company to the next lead of employees in the 70s, so 1971. And those gentlemen ran the company, owned most of it, but as they transitioned out, more and more people began to get ownership. So there was an employee owner culture here before the ESOP, I think. There was an employee stock bonus plan. So many of the key employees and middle managers continued to get ownership all the way through the transition into the ESOP in 2000, 2001. Now it's 100% owned ESOP. So that looks a little different. Everybody participates, not just a select few, but I think they had kind of the bare bones ownership culture here before that, which was awesome, and I think made the transition really easy for them.
And are the founders still a part of the organization, whether as board members or maybe even as officers of the company?
No, we have some family members that are still here from past generations of ownership, but most everybody here. Some of our senior people were certainly here when the ESOP came to be 22 years ago. Some of our more tenured employees have been here 35, 36 years. So they kind of saw it through that last ownership transition to the ESOP. And I think, at the time, that's what made sense in terms of capitalizing the company. And as a forward strategy, they were all comfortable with it. None of them felt that they needed to own it individually or as a group even. So the ESOP was where the great fit, the transition came in, that it worked out great, and it's been working ever since.
Oh, great. So it is interesting always whenever I've talked to companies that have some of their employee base that's not eligible, or even if that means not eligible because they might be part-time employees or interns or what have you. There's always the idea that we want to share ownership with everyone, but there are some that we can only share the concept, we can't have them participate for whatever legal reasons. And in your case, having union members, that can be a potential challenge as well. So maybe you could speak to that a little bit and how you're able to integrate the employee owner concept. Maybe you don't actually instill that with your union employees, but certainly with inside these other 60 employee owners. How do you instill that kind of employee ownership mindset?
Yeah, you make a great point, Bob. I think it's for our union employees and our field employees, they're very much customer facing, and they do a great job with that. For them and for us with them, it's a lot less about employee ownership than it is customer service and the quality that they provide and things like that. Within the office, I think we do a great job of instilling it. And again, I think this is legacy, and it's been this way for a long time. We have specific projects and different project teams for all the different projects, construction projects, that is. And I think one of the things that our business lends itself to really easily is autonomy, and letting people take care of their clients in the ways that they want to. Because it's not the same as it might be for a hospital, as it might be for a university, as it might be for an assisted living. So giving the project managers at every level of this company, some have been here a year, 2 years, 30 years, the autonomy to take care of their clients the way that they want to. And just to know that doing the right thing for the client will never be the wrong thing. And thus always the right thing for us as a company and, our share price. And that's what it ultimately is going to come down to, is how we take care of people and how we grow our company.
That's great. And I appreciate your candor with that. Do you folks have a communications committee? That's something that anybody that starts reading up on ESOPs, that's almost one of the first things they say. Oh, get a communications committee. And our founder, when he transitioned the organization to ESOP, that was one of the first missions he had, was putting together a group of employees. Do you do that at the Start Group?
Yeah, we do. We definitely have a communications committee, or ESOP communications committee, we call it. We have representation from both Rendernecht and Woodcrafters at that meeting every month. The main or the primary goal of that group is education. Certainly I'm here as an education resource and can help answer questions, open door policy all the time. But some of the more regular scheduled education, it's an approachable group, right? And it has representation from a lot of different areas of the company or companies. So everybody knows somebody well that's on that committee. We're not a very large company anyway. But as we grow, we want to continue to maintain that and have access for everyone to get their questions answered, to understand why we do the things we do, to, again, some of the simple things like how do you read your statement. And so that committee helps coordinate all of those things for us. And it's been a really good transition. We've had that committee for about 4 years now. And it's really been great.
Super. A lot of people tend to assimilate the communications committee with a fund committee as well. Do you do any cool things for the communications committee or otherwise related to ESOP? Maybe it's the share price reveal. Maybe it's attendance at a conference or something like that. Is there something that's kind of cool and things that maybe you're proud of that you've done recently?
Yeah, I think that committee really has full autonomy to celebrate Employee Ownership Month in October. So every year there's a new theme, a new set of activities, usually 1 to 2 activities a week for the entire month. Included in that is usually our share reveal, which is always exciting, whether it's guess the share price or a March Madness bracket where everybody's selecting different share prices to get us narrowed down to the right one over the 4 weeks. But the timing is really good for us. We have a March 31st year end, so usually October is about when we're ready to reveal our share price anyway. So we kind of integrate that into Employee Ownership Month. We do have heavy involvement in the ESOP Association, whether it's Iowa, Nebraska, or Midwest, or even national events. We've had people, certainly committee members, management team members, attend those events. I can go to those and come back and regurgitate as much information as I can come up with, but for people to see it firsthand and learn and go on the different tracks, and whether it's communication or technical or whatever it is, obviously those are incredible resources. That's probably the thing that impresses me most about the ESOP community, is the amount of knowledge and willingness to share that knowledge just across the board, whether it's company to company or professionals I can go talk to a trustee at a national conference that doesn't know who I am and is not my trustee, but will happily tell me anything he or she knows about ESOPs or what the right answer might be. And I just think that's really, really impressive.
Well, you are spot on. I don't think you could have said it any better. And thus is your attendance here today and helping share the message about employee ownership and ESOPs here within our fan base, which we hope is growing on a regular basis, by the way. Um, and in September, up in Minneapolis, is the next ESOP Association conference. I plan to be there. I know Emily does as well, and we hope to see many other people there too, because there is a sense of community. I think even if we're competitors, there's a sense of community in that whole ESOP company. Having said that, Bob, do you and given that you have background with not just the Stark Group, but another company for under ESOP ownership. What advice do you have for employees of other ESOP companies with regards to their journey? Is there anything that you'd want to highlight?
Yeah, I think participation is key. So go to those events, network at those events, and meet the Emilys of the world and the Bobs of the world that know the information. You may have a very unique problem for you and your group that is not unique in the ESOP world. So there's another resource out there that can help you with that. Outside of the informal relationships and kind of the networking, I think the formal relationships are really important too. So the right ESOP legal counsel, the right banker, the right valuation firm, record keeper, all of those partners in the ESOP process, the trustee, they've got to be the right fit and the right fit for your company. And they have to be a resource too. You're paying them, use them,
Right.
ask them questions, make them provide answers. They will, just that's what they're there for. So use them and lean on them.
Have you found that your employees over the time that you've been with Stark Group, the employee owners, have they built up an additional level of excitement around the fact that the you mentioned earlier it's all about customer service, and that's very admirable. But has there also been this sense of ownership and pride because it's not just the work that I do that benefits me, but it benefits us as an entire company, and of course, at the end of the day, my retirement account balance.
Yeah, I think it does. And it certainly has a level of accountability to it that you may not see otherwise. Um, Holding each other accountable and helping each other take responsibility, helping each other out. Like to think that stuff would happen anyway, but when it does affect everybody's personal bottom line, I think it certainly is easier. It's certainly ingrained in our people. Bob's not failing on a project. We are failing on a project. Let's put our heads together. Let's figure out how to make this right and fix this for not only our customer, but for us. So we can
Yeah.
continue to go on and have this great thing. And let's not mess it up. So
Yeah.
yeah, I think we really do. We do get good. We get really good buy-in across the board, and um, yeah, people are really drinking the Kool-Aid, I guess, to use a
Good.
euphemism. When
So
I
so
got here, I guess, if I may, I think they all kind of thought I was crazy because I was really really excited about it, the ESOP thing, and again, I didn't expect that I would ever find another ESOP to work at. Um, but then I started taking some other folks to some of these national and regional events and started to kind of catch on. They're all kind of like, oh, wow, there's a whole thing here. And we really were kind of missing it. So to get more people on board and kind of create that momentum was really good. And then as the years have progressed, pretty much anybody here who has wanted to attend an event has been able to. And that's been really great for, again, the culture and the meeting people at other companies and just having that conversation. And now, we run into a lot of our subcontractors are ESOPs, or a lot of our contacts around town are ESOPs. So just running into those contacts in a non ESOP context, we have a connection and we have something to talk about, something to really build momentum.
Yeah. Well, and certainly we all know that that there's a great financial benefit to being an ESOP, both for the individual and for the company, from tax advantages and for the founder with exit strategies and the whole like. And that's great. But I think we also know, or we should know, our audience should know, that the hidden gem is you use the word momentum. The hidden gem to ESOP, and I firmly believe is ownership mentality and taking pride. A higher level of pride. Focusing on customer service is fantastic, but overall growth for the organization is what I that's what I get excited about every morning when I get up and come to work. So what excites you, Bob? What inspires you about working for an ESOP company? And having asked that question, I do want to kind of circle back to, because I think one of those keys is that education piece you mentioned, educating your employees. Maybe that's the key that really gets you charged up about ESOP.
It absolutely does. I love the education piece and seeing the light bulbs go off, having people understand what it means for them. Even before I got here, every year people got an ESOP statement, and it said, well, here's your beginning balance, and here's your new shares, and what changed, and here's your ending balance. And everyone's like, okay, that's great. I'll stick that in the file. But until you start getting close to retirement and having those discussions about, well, what does this really mean, and how does this come to me, and um, how do I plan for when I get this? What do I do with it, and all that sort of conversation. So seeing people in that kind of stage of their career has been really exciting. Using those people as an example to talk to the younger generation of, hey, we just had people retire early because they had a great balance in their ESOP account, or people people getting to do the things they want to do in their life because or things they didn't ever expect they would get to because of their ESOP balance. So we hear those stories; they're anecdotal, but it's wonderful to see. Out, of course, I love the education piece. I'm from a finance background. I love just the financial piece of it, to be able to look at it and project and see, well, when I'm 65 and still here, or 62, or whatever it is, this is what it's going to be worth, and what needs to happen between now and then to make that happen. And that sort of thing is really exciting for an accountant to think about.
Sure.
I hate to say that, but it's fun. It really is, and it helps decision make, right? And you have conversations with people that are looking at other opportunities or thinking about changing companies, and it helps to say, hey, I really think you need to understand this fully before you make that decision. And 3 or 4 or 5% 401k match is great, but does it really compare to what you have here? And it's not everything, but it's certainly part of the discussion.
Yeah, and that's we like to think that and preach that the ESOP is a differentiator for us, and we're a software engineering firm, and but it's a differentiator for us. And if nothing else, if an employee wants to decide to go to another company, we want to make that decision extremely difficult for them, by presenting them with quality benefits, like that ESOP balance that they would be passing up on. So if you don't mind, just you personally, it appears that there's been an impact to you working for an ESOP company. You left the company, wanted to get a new start, and didn't think you'd find another ESOP company. What's the impact that working for an ESOP company has had on you personally, Bob?
I think it's the sense of pride thing. Certainly a company in a small town like Cedar Rapids with a great reputation. It means a lot. All our customers are here. We're not selling widgets, into China or Europe or anything like that. All our customers are here, and we see them, and we introduce ourselves as employee owned. Our email signatures say employee owner. Those things like that, I take a great deal of pride in. Being able to know that I'm a part of something that, and was a part of something immediately when I got here. It's not like you have to go and be there for 5 or 10 or 15 years before you get to be a part of the ESOP. It's right away, and it's something you get to build on. And for me, it really is just a sense of pride. And it really is cool to tell people you're employee owned, and most people don't know what that means.
Right.
But those that will ask, I will talk their ear off as long as they'll let me. This is something I can talk about all day. I really enjoy it, and it's like I said, most people don't know, but they are certainly willing to learn and listen, and most people think it's a pretty cool thing as soon as they understand what it is, and they'd be right. So.
Yeah, exactly. And I, like you, maybe it's our common first names, but I, like you, I get a grin on my face when I get to talk to somebody about what an ESOP is. Of course, everybody wants to gravitate towards the financial benefit of it, and that's fantastic, and a great benefit. But I always move the conversation towards what it means to be an employee owner, more so than just the financial gain. There's so much more that can be at stake. So hey, Bob, we're coming to the end of our time here together. Is there anything else you might like to add about being employee owned? Any other highlights or advice you want to share with our audience?
Yeah, like I said, just make sure you get involved in the community, understand it, know your partners, and know your resources. Anybody who's looking to sell a company and retire, explore it as an option, whether it's creating your own and leaving your employees in a great position, or finding someone like us or many of the other great holding companies to purchase your employees, your company, and leaving them in the right position as you exit and enjoy a hard-earned retirement. Think about the people you're leaving behind and how you leave them.
Terrific. That's great advice. I really appreciate it, and I certainly appreciate your time that you spent with us today, Bob, and the Stark Group for allowing you to be a part of this. We really do appreciate it. And to our audience, thank you for tuning in. This was podcast 1 of what we hope to be many, and we'll see you next time. Take care.